Hello and welcome to another episode of Just Jets, episode number 263. What's going on, guys? I'm Matt O'Leary. Gonna be talking some New York Jets football with you. A few topics I want to get into today. We'll go through your voicemails as always. I want to talk some Allen Lazard seeking a trade. We'll have a little chuckle on that one. And then some Jordan Travis drama that just kind of really irked me over the last few days. We'll get into all that. Wanted to mention, I mentioned it in a video a couple days ago, launched the new merch store and website, mattolearyny.com. This is kind of like a soft launch when I actually get some of my apparel coming in that I've ordered in bulk for myself. I'm going to be rocking them on camera and really kind of more hard launching it, but figured I'd start with the YouTube channel and more specifically with this show. With Just Jets. This is my, podcast form content. Usually I come on, I do 5-10 minute video. The Just Jets show come on, once a week. We talk for, it could be anywhere between a half hour, 45 minutes. It's more laid back and we have a lot of, regular callers in here. You guys are my diehards and I appreciate you. So figured I'd mention it to you guys and give you the opportunity to hop in there. mattolearyny.com, support the show. We really appreciate each and every one of you. All right, let's hop into today's show. All right, so Allen Lazard was given permission to seek a trade as of yesterday. Why is my question. I kind of just go, for what's the purpose? Can someone explain to me why? I get it, right? Like the Jets have no intention of bringing him back. And they just did this with Davante Adams too. So Adams had permission to seek a trade. No trade ends up going through. He gets released. I'm going to imagine it's going to be a very similar pattern that we see going from Davante Adams that you just went through for Allen Lazard. Lazard, unfortunately, didn't work out for the New York Jets. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Now, in Adam Schefter's report, there was, maybe the Jets could bring him back on a reworked kind of deal thing. I don't think so. With no Aaron Rodgers, I don't think Allen Lazard would want to come back to the New York Jets. It just, unfortunately, was a swing and a miss of a signing, which, hand up, I was wrong about. I thought that bringing in Allen Lazard, he would kind of fit with what the Jets needed at the time, as a red zone threat, as a jump ball guy, and a good run blocker. And he got worse, unfortunately, progressively worse, drops a major issue. For the last 2 years, each of the last 2 years, Allen Lazard was the league leader in drop rate. That's how I will remember Lazard, unfortunately, with his time with the New York Jets, or during his time with the New York Jets. It's going to be how he had so many unfortunate key drops and was more of a net negative than a net positive. So unfortunately, if you're holding out hope that the Jets, for whatever reason, are going to be able to find some sort of trade partner for Allen Lazard after not being able to find one for Davante Adams, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not very likely. You can cut him, free up $6 million or so, and then get after it in the free agent market. I'm going to keep bringing up the names that I have for the last few weeks now. Joshua Palmer, Darius Slayton, Tim Patrick. That's the most likely group of receivers that we're going to see the Jets pick out of. Don't hold your breath. Trade for T. Higgins or trade for Brandon Ayuk or, sign Chris Godwin. I don't think that's the route they're going to be going here. I would imagine that it's going to be again, much more likely that they're not bargain shopping, but going in that second tier or second wave of free agency like they did with John Simpson last year. And that one actually tended to work out pretty well for the New York Jets. So just wanted to come on and talk some Allen Lazard at the top of the show. Don't think it's all that likely that we see him get dealt for the New York Jets. Let's talk about this Jordan Travis drama. Excuse me, I went out of order here on my checklist. So over the weekend, you might have saw a report for Rich Cimini had it, but he spoke with Jordan Travis's agent, and he tried to say that the Jets were to blame for his setback. So I'll give you the quote. We'll have our reaction to it. His rehab with the New York Jets was not the best. They tried to rush him. It was too fast. There was pressure on the coaching staff, and they tried to get him going sooner than the timeline really was. That caused a setback, and we had to shut him down completely. I will be the first person in line to rip the New York Jets when I think they deserve to be ripped. I think I've proven that over my, 7 years covering this team on YouTube. This is not one of those instances. This makes zero sense. This is absolute bullshit is what it is. It is bullshit spewed from the agent. Because if you remember, around this time last year, Jordan Travis was getting ready to be drafted in the NFL draft. Unfortunate, really stinks. In November of 2023, Jordan Travis suffered a gruesome injury and was obviously impacted by that because he could not play at all in 2024. Now, if you remember, leading up into the draft and leading up to, or after, I guess not leading up to, after the Jets took him, the agent was the one who was pushing that there's optimism that he will be ready to go for training camp. That wasn't the Jets who came out and said, oh, Jordan Travis is going to be ready to go for training camp. We're going to push him and he'll be good to go for training camp. It was the agent and the player side that was saying, we are optimistic that Jordan Travis will be ready to go by the summer. That didn't happen. He did not have a single training camp practice. He did not appear in a single preseason game, and he was unable to come back and return at any point this season because, as told to us by interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich, Jordan Travis suffered a setback and then they completely shut him down at that point. Why, really think about this. Why would the Jets want to rush him back in a year where Aaron Rodgers was the starter and Tyrod Taylor was the backup quarterback? Tyrod Taylor couldn't get into the games when Aaron Rodgers was crawling around on the sideline against Denver and Minnesota. He puts his helmet back on and goes back out there. But they're trying to rush back their third string quarterback who they essentially knew was going to redshirt the year. Make it make sense to me. And then Jordan Travis does the old, scrub the Jets off his social media thing that athletes do. Who does Jordan Travis think that he is, by the way? I don't like this practice to begin with in the NFL. Rubs me the wrong way, but I've come to, put my boomer take aside and realize that, this is a part of negotiations. This is how it works in the NFL now, this and that. Jordan Travis hasn't taken one snap in an NFL practice yet. What kind of leverage is he trying to get? Is he going to really scare the Jets and go, oh, man, our Jordan Travis isn't happy? He wants out. We're going to have to trade him or do something to get him back in our good graces. He's going to fight for a roster spot this year, man. The staff that was here, the GM and the coach and the offensive staff that was here when he was drafted, they're all gone. We don't know what Darren Muji thought of Jordan Travis last year. We don't know what Aaron Glenn or Tanner Engstrand and the rest of the offensive staff thought of Jordan Travis in the 2024 draft. They might want to draft their own guy this year in the mid rounds. Kyle McCord, Will Howard, Jackson Dart. Hey, trade up for Cam Ward. Whatever their preference is in this quarterback class, they don't have to take a quarterback, but it wouldn't be the most shocking thing if they did. What does this regime owe Jordan Travis? It just seems like there's this disconnect that I clearly am not getting. Because I think the agent is really the one who put Jordan Travis in this spot to begin with. It's not the Jets side of things that was rushing Jordan Travis back. If anything, it's the agent going, yeah, he'll be ready for training camp. And setting that expectation or putting that expectation in the minds of organizations and fan bases around the league, and specifically the Jets where he was drafted. I don't get this at all. This is a bad look from the agent, and it's not a great look for Jordan Travis either. I like the kid. I do. I thought he had some upside going into the NFL draft, even with the injury. I'm not saying, just crumple them up like a piece of paper and toss them to the side. It doesn't mean anything. I would certainly like to go into OTAs in training camp and at least see what you have in Jordan Travis. My stance has been for the last few months, I don't think you can go into next year banking on Jordan Travis because he hasn't had an NFL practice yet, number one, and he's going on a year and a half since taking a snap. That's a long time. Even if we're going to count preseason games in August, he got hurt in November of 2023. That's not playing in a live game from November 2023 to August of 2025. There's going to be a natural level of rust there because the only way that you can get game reps is by playing in an actual game. Sure, you could simulate some stuff in practice, but even so, you're looking at earliest, when's OTAs and minicamps? June? So same math, same logic applies. You go from November of 2023 to June of 2025 without anything? I mean, come on, guys. So, again, not really the best of looks, in my opinion, for Jordan Travis and his agent on this one. I'm going to give the Jets credit here. Again, like I said, I'd be the first one to tell you like it is. If I thought this was the Jets at fault, not in this case. Definitely not in this case. Let's get into your voicemails. We'll get started with our guy Max calling in from New Jersey. He's got some takes on NFL free agency.
Hi, this is Max calling in from New Jersey, and let's talk about free agency preview. So, free agency is coming up in the next couple weeks, so here is my projected free agency. So, starting off with cuts, we're going to cut Aaron Rodgers, with Aaron Rodgers, even though I want the Jets to keep Aaron Rodgers, I've said it multiple times, I think the Jets are making a mistake with keeping Aaron Rodgers and stuff. It would save a lot of cap space. It would save more cap space if you cut Aaron Rodgers on June 1st.
Which is what they'll do.
If you cut Aaron Rodgers after June 1st, you only have to pay him the $75 million guarantee. If the Jets cut Rodgers immediately, the $49 million would be for 2025. So I think it's smarter to cut him post June 1st. We cut Devontae Adams. And then we also we could also cut Allen Lazard. And so after cuts, here are a couple trades I feel like the Jets should make. So I don't know if this is realistic, but I think the Jets should get Deebo Samuel. And the reason why is I feel like
thank God they did.
He was a good fit in our offense. I remember a couple years back, the Jets were trying to get Deebo Samuel in free agency. That didn't work out, but hopefully he can come in free agency. I feel like he's a legit wide receiver. Can be a legit wide receiver too. Underneath Garrett Wilson, he could be a gadget guy. He fits Tanner Agstrand's offense. And then another free agency move I feel like is getting the safety from the Buccaneers and Lions.
Okay.
And then the top who, which is,
okay, cut off a little bit there. Thank you for the call, Max. I think you would go on to talk about Dre Greenlaw as well. But on Deebo, he ends up getting traded after the call was made. He got traded to the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round pick. I don't mind at all the Jets not being in on Deebo Samuel. Now, Max was right. They did try to trade for him after the 2021 season. He had 1,400 yards that year with an additional 365 rushing and 14 total touchdowns. Has not been the same guy since that year. Has missed time, been banged up. He missed 2 games this year. 670 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Also had 136 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. He is now 29 years old. I don't like. He's a very gimmicky player. In his prime, good. Like I don't want this isn't revisionist history and saying Deebo Samuel wasn't good at one point. He was. He has, at least for Washington, it's essentially a 1-year deal at $17 million for him to play with Washington this year. That doesn't do it for me in the least. I'm sorry, it just absolutely doesn't. I know that free agents, the Jets need wide receiver help because they cut Devontae Adams yesterday. Allen Lazard's likely following. But Deebo Samuel in 2025 is not the route that I would go. He's not a true outside receiver. He's 6'2", 215. He's really more of a slot player / gadget guy. I know Corley hasn't shown a damn thing, but it's basically the role that Corley would play, and you'd be bringing in Debo. So, like, Corley's not going anywhere. He's going to be on the team this year. So you'd have 2 gadget guys on the team and still desperately need multiple outside receivers. So Debo would not have been someone that I'd have really any interest in, to be honest with you. Let's go out to Brandon up next. He's calling in from Texas and has maybe an under-the-radar guy that the Jets could target in free agency at the safety position.
Hello, Matt. This is Brandon Williams from McKinney, Texas. I was just wondering, what do you think about going after Trayvon Moehrig, a safety from the Raiders, in the free agency? He's kind of like an underrated guy that fits that Brian Branch mold. I think he would fit well in this scheme. That's all I had. Just a question about him.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the call. This is a good call out, by the way. Trayvon Moehrig. He's young, 25 years old, so you're not paying a safety in their late 20s. You're paying them in the mid-20s, which is usually their prime. He's great against the run, can come down and make plays towards the line of scrimmage. I would say he's just okay in coverage. He's not. I think there's better cover safety options out there. But to make the comparison to Brian Branch is a good one because of how he was utilized last year in the Vegas Raiders defense. He played a mix of box safety, he played at deep free safety, and he played in the slot as well. They have Michael Carter on the roster, who's a pretty high paid slot corner, so I don't know if they're going to be looking for that role specifically, but this is a good call out to make the comparison between the two. Like we saw clearly Aaron Glenn liked Brian Branch. They got him at the top of the second round, if memory serves correct, which I thought he for sure was going to be a first rounder, but really changed that defense because he's a chess piece. You can move him all around. That's exactly what you can do with Trayvon Moehrig as well. So I don't know how likely I would put this at. His projected contract is 4 years at a $15 million AAV. Pro Football Focus, PFF. While we can gripe about the grades and really like if they mean anything, I think they do a pretty good job with some of their like the stat analysis, and their contract projections are usually pretty close. And they're projecting him at a 4-year contract, around $15 million a year. I would prefer Cameron Bynum or Justin Reed. Reed from the Chiefs, Byram from the Minnesota Vikings. Those would be the safety targets that I would make, but this is not a bad option in the least. And again, I like the comp that you brought, making it to the Detroit Lions and a player that was very similar in the system that they ran there. So good call out. Let's go from Brandon to Jake from Jersey.
Hey, what's up, Matt? Jake from Jersey. I'm actually sitting here watching the Combine on this nice Saturday night here. Just want to say 2 really intriguing quarterback prospects. Tyler Shuck from Louisville.
Okay.
He throws a great ball, man. I mean, every different, thing they had him throw was like, he's like on the money. And also, I was actually pretty shocked with how good Riley Leonard actually looked too. Both guys are, pretty quick and have good rushing ability. They both be like intriguing prospects to take a look at, a little bit later in the draft. I don't think we'll trade up, but God forbid we did. But if we didn't, I'm saying they would be definitely some guys to target in the later rounds. I think both of those guys are, there's plenty of intriguing prospects, but both those guys were throwing pretty good balls today. Even the comeback routes or, the deep balls were both from those guys were great, honestly. I thought like Jalen Milroe would actually dominate that deep ball, but it really he didn't. And it was honestly Tyler Shuck and Riley Leonard looked good. Kyle McCord looked pretty good too, but I think the rushing ability from Riley Leonard and Tyler Shuck would be very that grabs my attention a little bit more, along with them both throwing really nice some nice passes out here in these drills. But if you think, if you watch any of the Combine this week, what quarterback prospects you're looking at later in the draft besides Kyle McCord or who else, man? But anyway, let's see what happens. Go Jets.
Yeah, Tyler Shuck, interesting one. Played at Oregon, Texas Tech, Louisville. Older prospect, has been in college football since 2018, which is a really long time. redshirted, but played as a freshman a little bit in 2019. But by far his best year was at Louisville this past year. As a senior, 3,195 yards, 23 touchdowns, 6 picks. This is a name that's been much more popular lately, and I think we'll see him rise a little bit through this process. Has good size at 6'5", 225. I'm interested, but I'm not like pounding the table going, oh my God, like this is the guy. McCord and Will Howard are the two names that I feel like get brought up the most with the Jets in the mid rounds. And if I was guessing, I would say one of those two would be most likely. Will Howard, I don't think had a very good day throwing the ball at the combine. Actually, credit to Shedeur Sanders. He went to his defense and was saying that it's hard when you're playing with receivers that you're not used to. They don't exactly run the routes where you're used to, and just like, I don't know, don't let the combine kind of pretty much just take over your whole train of thought on a prospect. And that's kind of where I was going to go. Is yes, the combine is an interesting tool, but I don't think we should drastically change our opinions on guys one way or the other because of a combine performance. So I would say Tyler Shook, interesting. Riley Leonard doesn't really do a whole lot for me, but we'll see. Maybe that's the direction that the Jets will end up going. I would say for now, my preference would be Will Howard on a mid-round swing, though. Let's go to Nick calling in from Jersey.
Hey, what's going on, Matt O'Leary and Jet Nation? This is Nick from Jersey calling in. I usually like to call in on the off-season buzz, so I think it's a lot more fun. Anyway, so I want to get to talking about the first overall pick that everyone is kind of, I don't know, I saw the news at 3 minutes, and it's like everyone's freaking out, and I'm just like, whoa, why is this such a bad thing? I know maybe losing capital next year could hurt, but I don't see us really losing much because we have the 7th overall pick. Move the 7th overall pick up, lose a few picks this year. Obviously, I'm not going to know. Matt, maybe you can see what it looks like, the cost, but like point-wise. But anyway, that's that out there. But I don't think losing picks this year is that terrible. Look, lock up the talent we have. Garrett Wilson says he wants to be here because he saw we're losing Rodgers. That's good. Sauce already claimed he wants to be a Jet for life. You look at Jermaine Johnson, he's all in, and Brees wants to be in on this too. So why are we so scared about losing a few picks this year when we're about to pick up a bunch of fifth-year options and sign these guys? How are we going to bring on more talent if we have to sign our own anyway? And I'm sure this team is going to rebuild through free agency. And Wilkes, I think, is the defensive coordinator. I looked at his history in a video recently. It looks phenomenal. I mean, sure, he didn't have great look at a head coach, but I think they can get the defense locked in. The offensive line is fine. Maybe adding another weapon or two to replace Rodgers' friends. But anyway, not to make this such a long call, sorry. But I really think the Jets are in a good position to move up right now because of all the young talent we have. Matt, please let me know your thoughts, and let's go, Jeff.
Thank you for the call. So they would have to really love Cam Ward to trade up to get him, and maybe they do. I'm going to be completely honest with you. That's not my preferred route because I do think it's going to cost you a lot. So you'd be pick swapping this year. I would imagine you'd be giving up your second round pick this year and maybe another pick. And then next, it'll definitely be a first in 2026, and then probably like another third. So let's say pick swap this year. So you get up to 1, they get 7. Second round pick this year, and one of their fifths and next year, 2026 is first and third. It's a lot, but there's no price too much if you if you get your guy. The thing that stinks is if you trade up and the guy's a bum. That's not a spot where you want to be at. I don't want to give up the Jets' chance to take someone in 2026. I happen to like that class better. Most people have kind of said that for now, but the tides have kind of been turning at this point, and it's been spun to this quarterback class actually isn't that bad. Cam Ward's a better prospect than some of the guys who come out next year, actually. I can't get there myself. If the Jets do feel that way, then yeah, they should trade up if they believe that they get their guy. I would rather build out the roster this year, have veterans hold down the fort, whether it's Tyrod or somebody else, and then kind of go from there. That's my spin on it, at least. Next up is Peter from the beautiful Hudson Valley. He's got some free agent options.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter calling from the beautiful Hudson Valley this week. Calling in as some news has come out late Sunday that apparently the Jets are already shopping Devontae Adams. But of course, if they can't find a trade partner because of his contract, they may have to cut him. Kind of hope we can get a pick back from him. That would be a nice thing. But I wanted to call in this week to focus on the offensive side of the ball going into free agency. Next week I'll talk about the defense. And two positions the Jets seem to need at least more than one player on. In this case, wide receiver and tight end. So I wanted to throw some names at you for both veteran options and draftees that maybe haven't been talked about as much, and which combination you might think would be the Jets' preferred route to go. So wide receiver, I know we've talked about Darius Slayton from the Giants as a possible option, but I'm also thinking, what about Tyler Boyd and or Allen Robinson? Because I know you did mention Tim Patrick, and both Robinson and Patrick were veteran wide receivers with the Lions, so they have that connection with Glenn. But some names at wide receiver, I mean, obviously we've talked about, the bigger names like Ted McMillan and Ibuka and stuff like that. But also, what about guys like Savion Williams from TCU or Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State? Maybe even someone small like Tez Johnson, as a slot guy. Just give me your thoughts on, combinations of those guys at wide receiver and who you think might work out for the Jets. Now, tight end class, when you look at that in free agency, pretty thin.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tyler Conklin leads the way, and obviously if the Jets were to re-sign him, that would be the best way to go. The only names I can really see that might be an option here, besides obviously re-signing Kenny Yeboah as well, maybe Matt Gesicki, because he could maybe be a big slot for the Jets. So that's possibly an option at tight end if they do that. And one that I guess has been talked about a little bit is that Vegas might want to move on from Mayer. So maybe the Jets could acquire him in a trade, and that would give them another veteran that way. But at tight end, obviously, we've talked about Tyler Warren a lot, and people like Fannin and Helm and Arroyo. But what are your thoughts on Colston Loveland out of Michigan and Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon as well? Maybe even Mason Taylor out of LSU, since the tight end class is very deep. And, obviously the Jets want to fill roles for their skill positions as best as possible. So that's some names to throw out. I know that's a lot at wide receiver and tight end. Next week we can look at D tackle and safety, I think, and see where the Jets go with both of those, options of both the veterans and free agency and in the draft. So let me know your thoughts. And as always, go Jets.
Thank you so much for the call, Peter. Really appreciate it. On some of the wide receivers that you mentioned, Tyler Boyd is an interesting one, although he wasn't all that great last year in Tennessee. Now, not a prolific offense, you could say, but 39 catches, 390 yards, no touchdowns. He's 30 or will turn 31. When does he turn 31? In November, so at the middle point of next season. Allen Robinson had 3 catches for 30 yards last year. And then a year before that, 34 for 280, and then 33 for 339. I think he's just about done. I think both guys are probably just about done at this point in their career. So I'm not really gung-ho on signing them. Of the two, I would say Boyd, but as maybe a fourth option, not as a 2 or 3. Robinson, I feel Jet fans have talked about him since literally 2018. A long time. He ends up with the Bears for a few years, has some productive seasons there, then ends up with the Rams and Pittsburgh, and he's been a very popular name. Good body type at 6'2", 210. Would kind of fit the mold of what the Jets were looking for if this was 4 years ago, but I think it's kind of just too late there. For mid-round wide receivers or second-round guys, I love the names that you mentioned. To throw another one in there, Jack Besh is a name in the second round that would intrigue me. Tight end, I like the Michael Mayer trade idea that you brought up, just because the class isn't great. Juwan Johnson, apparently the Jets have some interest in. He's been with the Saints for a long time. Colson Loveland, Loveland in the draft, he's going to probably be a top 20 pick. I don't think he gets past Denver. So that's not really if the Jets are taking a first round tight end, it would be Tyler Warren, which I'm open to, by the way. Some other tight ends, you mentioned Taylor from LSU. I thought he had a nice combine. Terrence Ferguson's another guy who I think could have success at the next level. I like Gunnar Helm. I know he ran horribly, but Ian Rappaport tweeted out he was injured. It was a pretty gnarly picture of a swollen ankle that he was running with. So don't take his times with a grain of salt. The Jets got to come away with at least a tight end at some point in the draft. I'm not opposed to two with Tyler Warren and then Jackson Hawes in the fifth round. That would be a really fun way to do it. If they want to do like Juwan Johnson, I always keep wanting to say Juwan Jennings, Juwan Johnson, and like Gunnar Helm, I think that could also go a long way to fixing that tight end room. So good names. Excited for the defense side of things. Let's go to the return of our old friend Billy Bilstein's back. Haven't heard from him in a while.
Hello, Matthew O'Leary. It has been a long time since we have been in communication. I have enjoyed your videos from afar. Boca is not very close to Long Island in a lot of ways, but from a certain perspective, we're neighbors because it's not like I'm in Albuquerque. I have a question for you, Matthew O'Leary. Do you think that we are going to utilize the 2025 draft to address the right tackle position and go with a rookie? Or do you think we are going to sign a free agent to play alongside my favorite player who plays alongside ABT, Joe Tippmann?
Good question. I would like to bring Morgan Moses back. Seems like mixed reviews whether or not that's actually possible. How about Ozzie Trapilo out of Boston College? Probably a second round target for the Jets. Can play all over the line, but I think fits in best at right tackle. Membu from Missouri is someone in the first round who's been rising a little bit. That's a true right tackle. 7's a little early to take him, I would think, but if they really want that right tackle, those are the two, I think, best options in the first 2 rounds for them at right tackle in the NFL draft. Buddy from New York wants to talk some Shador.
Hey, my name's Buddy from New York. I was thinking maybe Shador could fall to the Jets. I just think that would be awesome. I'm a Jet fan to a Jet fan. We always got misery, so thanks. You're one of my favorite YouTubers.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support and the call in here. Welcome to the show. So there was a report yesterday that Josina Anderson put out there that one of the teams in the top 7, not the top 5, not the top 10, but the top 7, wonder who that is. The Jets have the 7th pick, is not in on Shador Sanders. And I wonder if that's who she meant, if she did mean the New York Jets. I prefer Cam Ward over Shador. I just don't love taking him that high, and there's some red flags for me. I'm really nervous if things don't go well and how loud things get with Dion. That would be my fear with it. Accurate quarterback, good completion percentage, but takes a lot of sacks. Offensive line wasn't great. Don't know if he has the athletic upside that you might want in a top 10 pick, but someone's going to take him. I think the Raiders, honestly, are the floor for him at 6. So I think he does come off the board before that. How about PG from Long Island?
Hello, Matt O'Leary. PG from Long Island here. Thank you as always for taking my call. I want to talk about that interesting call you had from Ricky, the producer, last week.
Yes.
Who was talking about making Jets-oriented material, and you guys had, quote, making Jets-oriented material. I guess he never heard of content as a producer. But anyway, way off base. I listen to a lot of podcasts. You guys stay in your lane. You're really doing analysis, and you're doing it with debates and opinions, and it's fun. And again, you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
But it got me thinking about my own opinion about sports journalism these days. In particular, I think that as a reporter, the best reporters ask really good questions, and whether it's in sports journalism or other areas of the news. And what really bothers me is what I call the how big or how important questions that are always answered with, oh, well, very important. And, like reporters saying, oh, how important was that fumble recovery at the end of the fourth quarter that sealed the game? Well, that was very important. How big is it that the team stays healthy? Well, it's very big. And how important was that touchdown that you scored at the final seconds that won the game? Oh, well, that was very important. And, I'm exaggerating the questions, but they're out there and they get asked all the time. And listen, sometimes it is team reporters, so maybe they're not really supposed to ask any tough questions. They're not really reporters. They're really working for the team, or sideline reporters that are kind of reporters / entertainers. So the broadcast, they're trying to get them, they don't want them to ask tough questions. But sometimes you hear them in press conferences. How big was that? Okay, well, it was very big. So, you're wasting everybody's time when you ask them that question. If you're a reporter and you have this platform, you should really try and ask something that's insightful, that somebody wants to hear the answer to. But maybe it's just part of the way broadcasting is these days. I want to get your thoughts on that, Matt O'Leary, an experienced broadcaster with some journalism background. Anyway, as always, go Jets.
Yeah, I like this question. And this is the perfect spot, like on this longer form, Just Jets show, to get into some of the other topics. Like, yeah, we talk Jets, and this is still technically Jets related, but I kind of nerd out about broadcasting and stuff. It's what I'm interested in. Shocking, right? That's what I went, to school for and studied, and it's what I do every single day of my life now. When I was learning, one of the people that I referenced in the video last week, Mike Quick, who is really, really good sports broadcaster, worked for ESPN Radio New York, MSG Varsity, did some of the SNY broadcasts for local, like he's very big in the local broadcast, like high school sports in the tri-state area. That's his niche, if you will. One of the things that he always would make reference to was asking questions or phrasing questions that will get you an actual answer, to essentially to avoid those how big or how did you feel when, like those kinds of questions are more throwaways. So I think it's a valid point that you bring up. Instead of asking someone, how big was it when you got that interception, you can go into like describe what happened on that or what happened on that play that caused that allowed you to intercept. Like, I'm doing this off the top of my head. Obviously, you probably plan it out a little bit better than that, but kind of ask questions so that the person, in this case, the football player or coach, will give you an actual insightful answer and not just a redundant quote that is obvious. I don't know if maybe like the people who are asking the questions, the journalists, have a specific angle that they have to write. Like if the story's kind of, or their assignment's already in place and they have to kind of get a specific angle and they're just looking for an easy quote. Maybe that could be part of the reason why. But your point's valid that the phrasing of the questions are really important. And I think something that needs to be improved. Let's go to Jerome from Savannah next.
Matt O'Leary, thank you so much for taking my call. This is Jerome from Savannah. Matt, I need your help. I need you to explain to me, like I'm 2 years old, the logic behind and intelligence of trading draft capital this year in exchange for the chance to select a suspect quarterback in Cam Ward, who is turnover prone, didn't even throw at the combine as I understood it, or work out at the combine as I understood it. When you have so many glaring holes on this team, trade down. Wouldn't that be like the more logical and I would argue more intelligent and more efficient use of draft capital? I mean, you're going to need a tight end, probably maybe even two in this draft. I actually like your idea of getting Tyler Warren and Jackson Hawes, or even if you want to wait and say, grab Gunnar Helm and Jackson Hawes, maybe that would be even a better idea. And if you identify players at the top of the draft you'd want to get, like a Tet McMillan, or I know everybody loves Mason Graham, but I think sacrificing draft capital, as this rumor would have you believe the Jets are considering doing, is how bad teams stay bad. And personally, I think there is a hysteria going on with the quarterbacks, particularly in this class. A month ago, there were two quarterbacks in this class, and both of them had serious red flags. Dion's son didn't have a very good arm, and Cam Ward was turnover prone and needed to sit. Both of them needed to sit, right? That was the consensus. Now we're talking about, could be four quarterbacks going in the first round, so said Rich Eisen to Mike Mayock, just because they were throwing in their underwear with no pressure against them. I mean, this is the kind of groupthink that can become very, very, very destructive, in my view. And I think the Jets really would be better off just trading down and really foregoing the quarterback in the draft this year, and instead signing a veteran. In any event, I'm running short of time. Matt, thank you so much for taking my call. I hope all is well.
Yeah, thanks so much for the call. My preference would be to trade down also. It takes two to tango on a trade down. So you kind of have to think through it of who is trading up and for what. But if I had the choice of packaging my picks to move up for Cam Ward or trade back, my preference would be to trade back. I don't disagree with you on that. This is kind of what happens this time of year, where there's prospect fatigue, opinions change, and I think it skews a little bit too much, Jerome. So I think you're on it with that. I would rather go and take a Tyler Warren or Tet McMillan in the first round. And if you're going to take a quarterback swing, do it in the middle rounds. But I worry about trading up for a quarterback with the rest of the state of the roster. I want to fill out all the needs this year and put yourself in a great spot to take someone and for them to come in and have success in 2026. That would be my plan personally. Let's close with Caden Smith.
Hey, Matt, this is Caden Smith calling in from upstate New York. Been a long time since I called into the show, mainly since that disaster of the season. That was so hard to watch, but kind of phased out of the Jets world for a while recently. Just been busy with college and stuff like that, but just been getting into it a little bit more lately, getting excited for free agency. Just figured I'd call a little bit, kind of have a quick discussion about it. I haven't been even able to follow up much on like who the free agents are, what we're more than likely going after, but I just quickly pulled up the NFL's like top 100 free agents and stuff like that and was scrolling through it. And then based off the rumors, so I mean, it sounds like it's almost kind of a lock that Justin Fields is coming here. Not that anything's ever guaranteed, but it sounds like we want him bad. So I mean, it would be someone to compete with Tyron. I'm still hoping we draft a rookie, preferably Jackson Dart. That's my guy. But also, there's been rumors about the safety market, and I've been praying for so long. I was praying for so long during Salah that we would actually go out and sign a free agent safety that was good and not just leave it to, like, nothing against Tony Adams, but, like, not leave it to an undrafted free agent or, like, age up LaMarcus Joyner or whoever we had in the safety room. And this free agent safety class, honestly, is stacked. I'm just going through the list right now. Talanoa Hufanga from the 49ers would be a great option. My personal favorite is Javon Holland from the Dolphins. If we could steal him away from a division rival, that'd be fantastic. But Justin Reed, though, too, any of those would be great options just to help that back end of the EB department. We need some help back there. And then another priority, re-sign Jamie Sherwood. That boy, he is lethal for us, like such a good player. We can't let a good homegrown talent, and credit to him, one that Salah and Albrecht developed and stuff like that. They saw the talent in him. We can't let a homegrown talent like that just walk in free agency. I don't want to fully say give him blank check, but like give him what he wants. Like this, we need him back, especially because more than likely CJ is going to retire, or who knows what's going to happen with him, and it can't just be Quincy. So we need to keep Jamie around for long term. Other than that, I mean, I don't know what we're really going to be going after. Maybe a couple receivers like Josh Palmer or Tim Patrick just to round out the depth. But I mean, hopefully we can just get some good additions that will help the team. And then obviously in the draft with pick 7, who knows what we're going to do. Quarterback markets all over the place. I want to stay away from Shadur Sanders with a 10-foot pole. I want Jackson Dart, but I think 7's a bit rich for him. And then you go receiver and Ted McMillan. I'd love that. Tyler Warren would be a great option, or Mason Graham at defensive tackle. So many options right now, and hopefully free agency will give us some clarity on that. And hopefully my call made it in before you record for your show. All right, thanks for taking my call, Matt. Go Jack.
Got it right in at the buzzer. I appreciate you, Caden. Thanks for checking back in with us. I don't blame you for focusing on school a little bit and turning away from the Jets. It was tough this year, really tough this year. On Justin Fields, I do think the Jets' interest is legit. I also think that the Steelers want him back, though. Apparently, there's more interest in bringing back Fields than there is Russell Wilson. So we'll see if there's some sort of reunion there. But I do think the Jets will be active at that spot. I love the names that you brought up for the Jets in free agency. And for Jamie Sherwood, there was a report from Zach Rosenblatt that said he's looking at $8 to $10 million on a 3-year deal. So that's around the range you're looking for. I think the Jets will be in at that price. I wonder if Robert Saleh with the 49ers or Jeff Ulbrich now at the Atlanta Falcons would want to swoop in and grab one of their own guys too. So I think there'll be some competition for Jamie Sherwood, but it would be awesome to retain him. I think he's a good football player, and someone you drafted in the late rounds, you developed him, turned into a good starter. Keep him, reward him with another contract. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you next time.